Join me today for a Mat Pilates session. This is the Benniebarre Pilates studio. Special thank you today to JELSSPORT for providing me with this extra thick gray yoga mat, which you'll see me using in this video. If you're interested, I'll have the product link for this in my write-up below. We'll be starting out today sitting on the mat. Today I'm going to be starting with a yoga block. If you don't have one, you can feel free to do this sitting straight down. If you are tight through your back or hamstrings or it's the beginning of the day, this can feel really nice to sit up on a yoga block. So we're going to sit cross-legged, hands to the knees, and cat-cow through the spine, peeling the belly button back and curving away, and then extending in the opposite direction, just getting that spine moving in both ways here. Inhale as you extend forward and exhale as you draw the belly button in and pull back and away. From here, extend the legs out in front, keep the ankles together, arms out to a T, and we're going into the spine twist. Exhale as you twist off to the side, inhale, return to center. Exhale, twist, inhale, return. Think about keeping those hips and feet cemented. You don't want your hips to be moving or twisting or your feet to be sliding past each other. We want that all connected and all the twisting motion is happening through the torso. Next, we're going to take our feet about mat width apart and go into the saw. Twist, reach the pinky finger beyond pinky toe, stack up, twist the other way. Inhale, lift, exhale, twist, and reach. Inhale, lift. That twisting motion comes before the stretch. So we're twisting, ringing through the spine as we're stretching and reaching over. Great way to stretch through the back and through the legs here. Moving on to spine stretch. Hands come in right out from the shoulders. Legs are about hip distance apart. We'll inhale to prepare. Exhale as we reach up and over, stretching forward, and then stacking up through the spine. Exhale to reach. Inhale to stack up through the spine, one vertebrae at a time, bringing those shoulders up directly over top of the hips, sitting up nice and tall. The block can be really helpful here to keep you from slouching and help you to sit up nice and tall with those legs straight. Feel free, if necessary, to add a bend through the legs. We would rather a bend through the legs than slouching through the spine. Turning around now and bringing your hands to the block. We're going to step the legs out, come into a plank position, and from here, we're going to just hold for a moment and then lower the knees down towards the mat and press the legs back straight. So we're never putting any pressure or weight through those knees as we come down to the mat. We're just floating right here, engaging the core, and then extending back out straight. Exhale as the knees come down towards the mat. Inhale, stretch and lengthen long. And finally here, dropping to the knees and reaching back into a rest pose. Breathe deeply for just a moment, and then we're going to set the yoga block off to the side and get straight down to our classical practice. Roll down into a supine position on the back. Take the arms up overhead, and from here, float the legs up one at a time into tabletop. Inhale to prepare. On the exhale, lift head, neck, and shoulders. Reach the legs out towards 45 degrees and begin pulsing the arms in our 100 exercise. Inhaling through the nose for 5 and exhaling for 5 pulses. Keep the chin tucked in here, gaze forward over top of the toes rather than looking up towards the ceiling. Draw the knees into tabletop, lower down head, neck, and shoulders, and from here, we're going to tap down 1, 2 at a time and then reach out to 45 degrees. Tap and lift, reach out 45 degrees and return. Tap, lift, and we're alternating legs each time that we come in. We tap it down, then we reach it out, and then we switch legs. We want to make sure here that we are engaging that core and that we are maintaining a neutral spine. In other words, our pelvis isn't moving and we're not getting any extra air underneath the spine. Everything is stable and we're controlling that movement of our leg with our abdominals. Now keep both legs zipped and drawn in together and do the same thing. Tap those toes down towards the mat, lift into tabletop, reach out 45 degrees and return. It might be helpful here to place your hands onto your pelvis to remind it to keep in place. Remaining neutral through the pelvis and spine becomes extra challenging when both legs are moving at the same time. This is a great warm-up to go into the rest of our abdominal series that we'll be doing here. Draw the knees in towards the chest, take a little break and rock from side to side to roll out that back. Crossing the hands now onto the shoulders, we're going to tuck the elbows in towards the knees and then reach the legs out long. So we'll tuck in and reach out long. Now keep the head, neck, and shoulders peeled up here. Stay onto the shoulder blades and crunch forward at the top as you tug the knees in towards the body. So we're coming in like a double crunch in both directions and then lengthening the legs out to 45 degrees. Exhale as you pull in and then reach out long. Lots of control here. Keep the body nice and stable. Now bring the hands behind the head, elbows out wide. We're going to go into a chest lift with rotation. Exhale as you peel up one shoulder blade and reach that elbow beyond the opposite knee. Similar to the crisscross, but just keeping our legs in tabletop right here. And release. We're going to come to a seated position with our legs straight out. We're going into the roll up, started from seating. Exhale as you roll down one vertebrae at a time. Inhale, arms come up to frame the face. Exhale, tuck the chin to chest and roll forward one vertebrae at a time, stretching out, and then stack up through the spine one vertebrae at a time and roll back down. So we're really integrating the roll up with the spine twist as we reach forward and then stack up tall through the spine and exhale, hollow out, C curve, roll down one vertebrae at a time. Use your exhalation here during times of exertion. As you're rolling down, inhale to lengthen, and then we'll exhale as we're rolling up. Use that exhalation when you are working. hold this stretch forward here for just a moment. Breathe into that. Stack up through the spine and lift the arms up towards the sky and hold here for just a moment. Good. Turning around now. Coming into a plank position. We're going to lift the left foot and we're going to rock forward and back. So we're going to lift up onto that right toe and then press the right heel back, shifting the weight over the wrists and coming back. Really engaging the core, working through the arms. Switching feet now, right foot lifts, left foot rocks forward and back. Lower both heels down now and lower down into a prone position on the stomach. Going into the single leg kick. Bring the hands together up on your elbows, tuck the pubic bone into the mat so that you can't float your feet off the mat very far. That's how we want to be engaged there. And we're going to kick in, so we take a little 2 pulse in as we lift that leg. You should feel this working very heavily through the hamstring as long as that pelvis is in the correct position, tucked forward into the mat. We'll take that double pulse and we'll alternate switching legs each time and then reach back out long. Make sure the shoulders are rolled down and away from your ears here and that your neck is in a nice straight line with the spine. Moving now into the double leg kick. Laying the head down on the mat, we're going to interlace the fingers and place them palms up onto our low back. We're going to float the legs up in the air and kick 1, 2, 3. Reach out, lift through the shoulders, reach the arms back, and then lower down 1, 2, 3. Lift up on the inhale, exhale, kick 1, 2, 3. As we inhale, we lift the chest and the legs remain floating. They don't come down onto the mat. They're still floating off of the mat here. Inhale, lift, and exhale, 1, 2, 3. I prefer to change the sides of my neck each time, so I take my head off to the left and then off to the right every time that I come down. This is so great for opening up through the chest, and you're working a lot of posterior muscles here as well. Good. Lower it down. Hands are going to come underneath the shoulders and we're going to press up into Swan and go into the Swan dive. We'll inhale as we lift the chest, exhale as we dive forward. Stay nice and rounded through the spine. I prefer to have my legs out into a V here rather than being tight together. And pull the arms back, help the chest to lift. This won't go quite so high if your back isn't very flexible. Go ahead and press back into a rest pose here. And breathe deeply. We've had a lot of extension through the spine, so we want to spend a moment in this rest pose. Now swing those legs around. We're going to come into a reverse plank position, going into the leg pull up. So we're going to lift the hips into this reverse plank, and we're going to take the left leg and lift for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Switch the legs, keep the hips nice and high. 5 on the other side. Those fingertips are facing forward towards the toes. And right underneath the shoulders. Go ahead and bend through the elbows. We're going to take little tricep dips right here. Bend through the elbows, let the hips come down towards the mat, and then press the whole way straight through the arms and the whole way straight line through the body. Keep going here. Remember to continue a steady flow of breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Lower down. Coming down onto the forearms here with the fingers still facing forward, we're going to go into the hip twist from a forearm place. So we're going to take the legs, circle them off to the left all the way around and back up to the right. Pause here in the center and come down to the right and circle the whole way around. Try to keep the feet close together, and rather than shifting back and forth on this movement, keep them glued right where they are. Working through the hip flexors and the abdominals here. Lower the legs down, come up to seated, and stretch forward for a moment. Next, we're going to roll through the spine and transition into teaser. Arms coming up overhead. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift the legs and the upper body at the same time. Inhale at the top and exhale as you roll everything back down. Exhale, lift, hold and inhale. Exhale, rolling back down. The teaser is such a dynamic exercise for the core, for the hip flexors. The teaser is also an exercise that can be really challenging to master, and once you get it down and you feel that there's such a beautiful flow, a grace, and a balance to it, you'll want to continue and teaser every day. It's one of those exercises that you might hate at first, but it will become one of your favorites with practice. This next one will take a little variation at the top. We're going to lift up and hold. Now lower the feet down towards the mat as you lift the arms up to frame the face, and then return to that teaser shape. Really challenge yourself here to hold this teaser in a stable place. Beautiful, and roll all the way back down to the mat. Take just a second here to breathe, and then we're going to transition into the roll over. Floating both legs up into tabletop, reaching the legs out towards 45 degrees. Exhale as we roll over, flex through the feet and take the feet about hip distance apart and roll down through the spine one vertebrae at a time. Point through the toes, zip the legs back together. Exhale as you roll over. Take the feet hip distance apart and flex on the way down. So we're always pointing on the way over and flexing on the way down. Right here as we roll over, we have the legs zipped together, and on the way down, we separate shoulder distance apart or hip distance apart. Now we're going to go over with the legs distance, then zip them together on our roll down and feel the difference there. Always pointing as we roll over. Zip the legs together and flex as you roll down. Point the toes, separate the legs about hip distance apart, roll over, zip the legs together, and flex on the way down. Feel that rolling and articulating through the spine. This employs a lot of core work here and can be beneficial in so many ways. Really press those palms into the mat. Good. From here, we're going into the jackknife. So we'll come into that rollover shape. Press the legs up so your toes are floating above your face, and then return the legs down towards the mat and press up. Not only will you feel this in your core, you're also going to feel this throughout your triceps here as your arms are pressing into the mat. And roll back down towards the mat. Bend the legs in towards the chest and breathe for a moment as you rock from side to side. We're transitioning now into our abdominal series of 5, tons of ab work here, starting with the single leg stretch. So we'll peel up the head, neck, and shoulders, and we're going to take the single leg stretch for 2 pulses. Pulse, pulse, switch, pulse, pulse, switch. One knee pulls in while the other leg stretches away 45 degrees straight, and we alternate, trying to keep that body nice, stable, and steady, balancing on the shoulder blades with the chin tucked forward, gaze over the feet. Double leg stretch here. Reach the legs and the arms out and away. Legs reach out to 45 degrees, arms come up and frame the face. And then we snow angel the arms in as we pull the legs towards the body. Reach out and away. Snow angel the arms. Imagine that you're moving those arms through wet cement. Just imagine some resistance there to make that more challenging and engaged. Next, single straight leg stretch. The legs remain straight, and we're just taking this with a single pulse this time through. So we're really stretching through the hamstrings, holding on somewhere between the calf and the ankle as the other leg stretches away and hovers off the mat. Try to stay stable and steady through the hips. Reach one leg away as you pull one leg in. Now double straight leg stretch. Arms come, or hands come behind the head, elbows out wide, and we're going to take both those legs and reach away 45 degrees and come back up. Maintain a neutral spine. Don't let there become any air underneath your spine, and we want to keep that pelvis in the same position as we reach the legs away and return. Next, we're moving into the crisscross. One leg reaches out and away, and we're going to take opposite elbow towards opposite knee. Think here not just about touching the elbow to the knee, but really twisting and ringing through the body. Think about taking the elbow beyond the knee as you twist off to the side. It's just like the chest lift with rotation that we did at the beginning of our session, but now we reach one leg away, making it that much more challenging. Hug the knees into the chest and rock from side to side, taking a little break here for a moment. We're going to transition next into a brief side leg series. Who doesn't love side leg? Coming over onto the side, hands coming underneath the head here, propped up on the elbow, and take the legs forward to 45 degrees or the corner of your mat. So we're going to point as we lift the foot up and flex as we squeeze down. Point, lift up, flex and squeeze down. Think about keeping a lift underneath the side body, keeping the chest nice and open and not hunching over or rolling your shoulder forward. Now we're going to flex as we lift up and point as we squeeze down, changing the articulation of the foot here. Now we're going into the hot potato. We're going to tap forward, lift, tap back, lift, tap forward, lift, tap back, lift. Keep shoulder stacked over top of shoulder and hip over top of hip. Good. Bring that leg about hip height right here. We're going to take tiny circles to the front. Nice, tight, and controlled. Reverse direction, coming to the back. And now bring those legs in. We're going to take the knees straight out across from the hips and the ankles in line with the knees. We're going into our full fetal 5 series, starting here with a parallel lift. Good. Right here, we're going to open up the knees, keep the heels together, feet stacked on top of each other, and just open up through the knees. Get some external rotation right here. Now we're going knee to knee, toe to toe. Knee to knee, lift and switch toe to toe. We rotate in, we rotate out. Good. Right here, we're coming into the elevated clam, so the feet are up in the air and the knees open and close. And finally, the 5th exercise is the extended elevated clam. So we open the knee, reach the leg out straight, bend in, and close the knees. Same as the elevated clam, we just add an extension and straightening of the leg. If you haven't figured this out by now, the fetal 5 is working our glutes. Lower down the legs. And now we're going to come up into the side bend, coming into that side plank. We're going to reach up and over and then dip the hips down. Take the gaze towards your hand that's on the ground. Lift up, arch through the spine, and then dip the hips down towards the mat. Working through that side body, the obliques, the arm. Good. Now hold your side plank for just a moment. Breathing deeply. Coming down onto the other side right here. We're going to go through that whole side leg series on this side. So we'll start pointing the toe up and flexing down. Point and lift, flex down. Remember here that your legs aren't in a straight line out from your body. They're coming forward towards the corner of your mat. Now we're switching here, flexing up, pointing, coming down. Flex, lift up, point and come down. Nice and graceful and long through the legs. Coming into the hot potato right here, we tap forward, lift, tap back. That top hand can just be pressing down into the mat to help you to remain stable right here. Now lifting the foot up about hip height, we're going into those tiny small circles, circling to the front to begin. And reversing direction, circling to the back. And now bend those knees forward, coming into the fetal 5. So we want the knees to be in line with the hips and the knees to be in line with the ankles. The parallel lift, we're going to lift the heel and the knee up at approximately the same level. You want to keep your legs parallel to each other, and you can liken this to opening up the cover of a book. Moving into the clam, feet stay together, knees open. Or rather, the top knee is lifting. Good, now knee to knee, toe to toe. So you're gonna lift and switch. You change that rotation of the knee. It turns in and comes down and then lifts up towards the ceiling as you tap the toe down. Now for the inverted clam, feet coming up, we're gonna open those knees and close. Now the inverted clam with extension. Open, extend, bend, and close. Open, extend, bend, and close. Try to be really precise with this movement here. I know those muscles are getting tired. Good. Now we're going to lower down and we'll come up into the side bends. The top leg comes forward here as we're in this side plank position. We're going to lift up and over and then dip the hips down towards the mat. Good, and finally hold that side plank here. And come forward into your plank. We're going to lift the hips up towards the sky, pressing back towards down dog. And then we're going to roll through the spine all the way back out to plank. Lift the hips up, press back, tuck the pelvis, and roll forward into a plank. Lift. Roll forward. Lift the hips. Roll forward. Lift the hips. And come forward here into plank, and we're going into push-ups. One push-up, press the hips back, and come straight out to plank. Push up, hips come back. As we're taking these push-ups here, we want the elbows to be grazing the rib cage, tight to the body. Lift the hips, come forward into plank, push up. This is a challenge as our arms have gotten tired through side plank and through planking right here at the end of class. So push yourself here to the best of your ability, remembering form, focus, and breath. Plank, push up, lift the hips. Dropping to the knees here and pressing back into rest pose. Well done. This rest right here is well deserved. In 30 minutes, you've done quite a bit of movement, and sometimes all you need is 30 minutes to get that body warm and moving, and you're really gonna feel the difference during your day and during your life if this is a regular practice. I am sweating as a result. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're interested in learning more about the ins and outs of all of the classical Pilates exercises, so you can feel like you're mastering those exercises and really perfecting your practice as you follow along these sessions with me, you should check out my Patreon account, the Bennie Barre Pilates Studio on Patreon, and you can find very inexpensively my Mat Pilates tier, where you can learn alongside me, and I'll give you tips and tricks in addition to what you can find here on my channel. Also, if you're interested, there are barre classes and springboard Pilates there that is just awesome on Patreon. And of course, check out my channel here for more Mat Pilates. You can find many more Mat Pilates sessions just like this one and more to come, as well as barre workouts and springboard Pilates. If you love this session and you want to see more just like it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you won't miss a single video that comes out. I appreciate you joining me here in the studio so much, and I will see you guys next time.